Jill Duggar's husband, Derick Dillard, has joined forces with his cousin Amy Duggar King in his family fight against patriarch Jim Bob and TLC. Amy Duggar King is a member of the Rebel family. In the beginning of this month, Derick, who is 30 years old, expressed his displeasure with the network for excluding his family from the season finale of Counting On, which featured Grandma Mary's funeral. Despite the fact that they were there at the burial ceremony, the Dillards were not included in the scenario, despite the fact that the entire Duggar family was present. Despite the fact that Derick and Jill, both 28 years old, finished filming for Counting On in 2017, a person who follows the show inquired as to the reason why they did not feature in the significant episode. His response was, "It is none of our fault. Anyone from a family that TLC does not want viewers to see in attendance was removed from the show. It was not in the plan for either the Kings or us to be present at that time." In this context, Derick is alluding to Amy, his Rebel cousin, and Dylan, her spouse. In reaction to the continued allegations made by Derick, she sent out the following tweet: "You really are throwing some light on some very dark gray situations. Have a good time." On the show 19 Kids and Counting, Amy was featured quite regularly. However, her appearances on the show Counting On have been extremely infrequent. Apparently, she was silenced by her family for speaking out against her cousins, and this information has been put out. Jeremy Vuolo and Jinger Duggar tied the knot in 2016, but she did not show up to the ceremony. The mother of one does not adhere to the stringent regulations that the Duggar family has established, as she wears jeans, clothing that expose her cleavage, and swimsuits that are exposing. Even short skirts and plunging dresses are things that she offers at her boutique, which is called 3130 Clothing. In addition, the former star of Marriage Boot Camp dated her spouse rather than wooing another woman like her cousins did. Derick has been making allegations against the Duggar family on Instagram over the past few weeks, and this support comes as a result of those allegations. It was in December when he made the assertion that his children's show contracts were negotiated on their behalf by his father-in-law, Jim Bob. "We were pressured to think that we were required to and that we would get sued if we didn't," Derick said in response to a fan who inquired about the source of their decision to film without receiving paid. "I was under the assumption that the Duggar children didn't make any money from the show," he said, and Jill was also under the same impression. The law student stated, "But rather it was presented to us kids as something that was done as a ministry that TLC periodically subsidized in the form of reimbursements for things like gas, restaurants, travel, and other similar expenses. On top of that, however, there is no genuine compensation." Additionally, he asserted that the family is not permitted to be present in the Duggar residence and that Jim Bob isn't there. Jill even had to ask JB permission to go over to the house to help her sister when she was in labor because her sister wanted her assistance. "But Jill couldn't provide the assistance until we got it cleared with JB," he explained. "Jill wasn't able to provide the assistance until we got it cleared with JB." In the most recent instance, Derick made the following assertion on Instagram: "I've previously mentioned volunteerism as it relates to our previous work with the show, and volunteer actually means volunteer. Although we started out as volunteers, it eventually became clear that it wasn't even volunteerism. This is because, in general, volunteerism presumes that you can leave without facing significant risks, such as threats to your legal or financial standing, in addition to extreme emotional pressure from both within and outside of your family, which unfortunately results in the painful burning of bridges just so that you can protect your family." As a result of Derick's allegations, they have not been present at any family gatherings. The baby shower that was held for Jill's sister-in-law Abby was held in the Duggar household, although Jill was not there for the event. On Christmas, Jill, Derick, and their 2 young sons did not celebrate with their family but rather with their friends. In the world of reality TV families, few have captivated the public eye as much as the Duggar family. Known for their appearances on 19 Kids and Counting On, the Duggar family seemed to embody the epitome of conservative values, large family dynamics, and traditional gender roles. However, behind the scenes, tensions began to rise, creating rifts that would eventually play out in the public eye. One of the most notable fractures in the Duggar family came when Jill Duggar Dillard and her husband, Derick Dillard, broke away from the family's tight-knit structure. This was not an easy decision for the couple, especially considering the immense influence and control wielded by patriarch Jim Bob Duggar. At the center of this evolving saga is Amy Duggar, the cousin of Jill and the more rebellious member of the Duggar clan. Known for her more liberal views and independent streak, Amy had always been somewhat of an outsider within the family. But as the feud between Jill, Derick, and Jim Bob escalated, Amy's decision to publicly side with Jill and Derick marked a dramatic shift in the family's dynamics, signaling the start of new alliances that would challenge the Duggar family's tightly held unity. In this piece, we will explore the roots of the Duggar family's public feud, how Jill and Derick Dillard's exit from the family's public life unfolded, Amy Duggar's growing frustrations with her relatives, and the impact of her decision to side with Jill and Derick. This tale of loyalty, rebellion, and shifting allegiances has captivated fans, drawing them into the complex world of family ties, media influence, and personal independence. The Duggar family's rise to fame. The Duggar family became a household name after the premiere of 17 Kids and Counting in 2008. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, along with their 19 children, made for a unique and intriguing reality TV family. The Duggars' conservative Christian lifestyle, homeschooling practices, and commitment to large families struck a chord with viewers across the country. The family quickly became famous for their appearances on the TLC network, which documented their day-to-day lives, large family gatherings, and the challenges of raising a massive brood. Over the years, the Duggars became known for their strict adherence to biblical principles, with a focus on modesty, courtship instead of dating, and gender roles that placed men as the head of the household. As their children grew up, many of them followed in their parents' footsteps, marrying young and starting large families of their own. Each new chapter of their lives became a highly anticipated segment on their TV shows. However, beneath the public persona of a happy, united family, not everything was as picture-perfect as it seemed. The Duggars were not immune to scandal, and the most infamous controversy arose in 2015 when allegations surfaced about Josh Duggar, the oldest son, being involved in molestation as a teenager. The fallout from this scandal led to the cancellation of their flagship show 19 Kids and Counting and caused a massive shakeup in the family's public image. Despite the scandal, Jim Bob and Michelle managed to maintain their position as the face of the Duggar brand, and the family returned to television with a new series, Counting On, which focused on the lives of the younger Duggar children. This was the point at which the cracks in the family's seemingly flawless facade began to show. Jill and Derick Dillard's break from the family. Jill Duggar, one of the more prominent daughters of Jim Bob and Michelle, had always been somewhat of a fan favorite. Her sweet nature and close relationship with her family made her an integral part of 19 Kids and Counting. In 2014, Jill married Derick Dillard, a former missionary, and the couple quickly became the darling couple of the Duggar universe. Their wedding, which was aired on TV, was a highly publicized event, and they seemed to embody everything the Duggar brand represented, a young, wholesome couple living out their faith together. However, as the years passed, Jill and Derick began to move away from the family's strict expectations. After getting married, the couple moved to Central America for missionary work, a decision that initially seemed in line with the Duggar family's values. But things began to change when they struggled with financial issues, especially after Jill and Derick's involvement in the Duggar family's TV empire came to a halt. In 2017, Derick Dillard was fired from Counting On after making controversial comments about transgender people on social media. His outspoken views, which clashed with the more progressive elements of society, caused a public uproar, and TLC decided to sever ties with him. This marked a significant turning point for the couple. Jill and Derick began to openly criticize the control Jim Bob held over the family's finances and personal decisions, and they slowly began to distance themselves from the Duggar brand. This break from the family's financial system, along with their growing frustration with Jim Bob's dominance over their lives, led to further tension. In interviews, Jill revealed that she and Derick were no longer on the best terms with her father, and they were striving for independence. Their departure from the family's show and their financial struggles set the stage for what would become a more public feud. Amy Duggar, the rebel cousin. Amy Duggar, the cousin of the Duggar children, had long been considered an outsider to the family's ultra-conservative way of life. While she shared the Duggar name, her life choices were often in stark contrast to those of her relatives. Unlike the Duggars, Amy did not strictly follow their conservative values, and she was known for her more liberal approach to life. Amy pursued a career in entertainment, was open about her experiences with dating, and did not shy away from sharing her opinions on topics like fashion, marriage, and politics. Amy's lifestyle and public persona stood in stark contrast to the Duggar family's rules and traditions. While Jim Bob and Michelle instilled a sense of strict modesty and self-control in their children, Amy was much more free-spirited and outspoken. This led to her being viewed as a rebel in the Duggar world, but at the same time, Amy still maintained a relationship with her relatives, often making appearances on the family's reality TV shows. However, as the years passed and the Duggar family faced more public scrutiny, Amy began to express her dissatisfaction with certain aspects of her family's behavior. She spoke out about the overbearing control Jim Bob exerted over his children and became increasingly vocal about her own struggles with feeling alienated from the family. Amy's frustration with Jim Bob's influence was growing, and she began to make more direct statements criticizing his actions. It wasn't until Jill and Derick's public break from the family that Amy's rebellion reached a new level. Her decision to side with Jill and Derick in their feud with Jim Bob marked a turning point in the family drama. This decision sent shockwaves through the Duggar world and caught the attention of fans who had long wondered where Amy's loyalties lay. The feud escalates. Derick Dillard's public criticism of Jim Bob. The feud between Derick Dillard and Jim Bob Duggar began to intensify after Derick publicly accused Jim Bob of controlling the family's finances and using them for personal gain. Derick made these claims in interviews, on social media, and in various podcasts, and the statements caused a rift between him and the Duggar patriarch. Derick's allegations were serious, accusing Jim Bob of taking a large portion of the money earned from the family's TV appearances and not providing adequate financial support to his children. He also criticized Jim Bob's authoritarian approach to parenting, which he felt stifled the individuality of his children. Derick's bold stance was a departure from the typically quiet and obedient image that the Duggar children had portrayed over the years. Jill, too, began to share her own frustrations with her family. She revealed that she had felt manipulated by Jim Bob and was no longer willing to follow his dictates. The couple's decision to go public with their grievances was a powerful statement, not only about their desire for independence but also about the toxic dynamics they believed existed within the family. Amy Duggar's growing support for Jill and Derick. Amy Duggar's decision to publicly side with Jill and Derick was a significant moment in the Duggar family's ongoing drama. Known for her more independent lifestyle, Amy had already begun to distance herself from the Duggar family's rigid beliefs. But her vocal support for Jill and Derick marked a shift that sent a clear message. Amy was no longer going to stay silent about the issues within her family. Amy took to social media to express her support for Jill and Derick, praising them for their courage in standing up to Jim Bob. She made it clear that she agreed with their decision to step away from the family's TV projects and seek financial independence. In doing so, Amy not only aligned herself with Jill and Derick but also broke away from the Duggar family's long-standing practice of loyalty to Jim Bob. Amy's public stance was a direct challenge to the patriarch's authority and control over his children's lives. Amy also began to speak out more about her own experiences with Jim Bob. She hinted at the difficulty of growing up under his watchful eye and expressed frustration at the pressure to conform to the family's expectations. Her support for Jill and Derick was not just a political stance but also a personal declaration of her own desires for freedom and independence. The impact on the Duggar family. Amy Duggar's decision to side with Jill and Derick has had lasting effects on the Duggar family. While the family has remained relatively quiet about the feud, it's clear that the public rift between Jim Bob and his children is continuing to play out in real time. The once unified Duggar family has now fractured, with certain members asserting their independence and questioning the way the family has been run. For Jill and Derick, their public stance has allowed them to build a life outside of the Duggar brand. They have focused on raising their children in a way that is more aligned with their own values, free from the constraints of their past. They have also become outspoken advocates for transparency, especially when it comes to issues like financial control and toxic relationships within the family. For Amy, the decision to support Jill and Derick has allowed her to further distance herself from the Duggar family's strict values. Her growing independence and willingness to speak out have made her a more prominent figure in the Duggar drama, and her alliance with Jill and Derick signals a shift in the family's internal dynamics. A family in flux. The Duggar family's saga is far from over, and as new alliances form and old loyalties are tested, the drama is sure to continue. Amy Duggar's decision to side with Jill and Derick Dillard in their feud with Jim Bob is a key moment in this ongoing narrative. It represents not just a break from family tradition but a larger statement about the desire for independence and personal growth. The Duggar family, once known for its unity and devotion to conservative values, is now a family in flux, with shifting alliances, public feuds, and a growing push for transparency. As the Duggars navigate this tumultuous period, it's clear that the once perfect family image has cracked. The future of the Duggar clan remains uncertain, but one thing is for sure. Amy Duggar's rebellious stance has changed the trajectory of this long-running family drama.